Something happened inside the Los Angeles Lakers locker room that the cameras did not fully capture. And when the details started coming out, it became clear that the tension building around Bronny James had reached a point where even his own teammates were involved. Reports surfaced that Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves had been joking about Bronny. What may have started as casual locker room banter, the kind of thing that happens between teammates all the time, quickly crossed into territory that nobody could ignore. And when LeBron James found out about it, the mood inside that building shifted in an instant. No quiet conversation over dinner, no team meeting to smooth things over gently. Lines were drawn, relationships changed, and what looked like a small thing from the outside became something much larger behind closed doors. To understand why this hit so hard, you have to understand the kind of pressure Bronny James has been carrying since the moment his name was called on draft night. He was not just another late second-round pick trying to find his way. He was the 55th overall pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the son of the greatest player of his generation, and the first player in the history of professional basketball to share an NBA court with his own father. When the Lakers faced Minnesota on October 22, 2024, that moment finally happened. LeBron and Bronny James on the same NBA floor at the same time. It lasted just 2 minutes and 41 seconds. It was emotional. It was historic. It was something that had never been seen before in this league. But the box score that night told a much colder story. Bronny grabbed 1 rebound and scored 0 points, and from that moment forward, every single thing he did on a basketball court was going to be examined under a microscope that no second-round pick in NBA history had ever faced before. His rookie season numbers were not easy to look at. He averaged 2.3 points, 0.8 assists, and 0.5 rebounds across 27 games. He shot 36.6% from the field. His three-point shooting became a genuine problem. At one stretch, he went 0 for 15 from beyond the arc. In his first 4 Summer League games, the outside shot simply was not falling. And that struggle followed him right into the regular season, where he hovered around 25 to 30% from 3 on limited attempts. Year 2 did not dramatically change things. He was still averaging around the same 2.3 points per game in limited minutes. There were flashes where things looked better, stretches where you could see real progress happening. And then there would be sudden regression that brought all the questions rushing back. But here is what the stat sheet did not tell you. Defensively, Bronny was a different story. He showed lateral quickness. He showed anticipation. He could stay in front of guards and switch on to wings without getting lost. His defensive rating looked respectable when in the G League, he was averaging nearly a steal per game and bringing real energy on that end of the floor. Coaches noticed it. Teammates noticed it. But in today's NBA, defense alone is rarely enough to earn you steady rotation minutes. Teams need spacing. They need 5 players who can threaten from the outside, not 4 shooters and a question mark standing in the corner. When Bronny hesitated to pull the trigger on open shots, defenses simply stopped guarding him. They sagged off him and loaded up on the stars, collapsing on LeBron and Anthony Davis, shrinking driving lanes, and making the entire offense more predictable. And that created a real problem that no amount of hustle on defense could fully solve. The pressure did not begin with his first missed shot in the NBA. It started long before he ever played a professional game. LeBron had publicly talked about his dream of playing alongside his son for years. Back in March 2023, he tweeted that Bronny was definitely better than some of the players he had been watching on League Pass. That message went viral immediately. It raised expectations sky high. And whether Bronny wanted that spotlight or not, it followed him straight into the league and stayed there. The moment he was drafted, the nepotism accusations came flooding in from every direction. Critics argued the teams were not just drafting a basketball player, they were drafting access to LeBron James. The Lakers front office faced one enormous, uncomfortable question. Did they take Bronny at 55 because they genuinely believed in his basketball ability, or because it helped keep LeBron happy enough to stay in Los Angeles? That question stuck, and it never went away. Stephen A. Smith became the loudest voice in this conversation in January 2025, when his rant on national television went completely viral. And what made Smith's criticism different from the rest was that he was not attacking Bronny personally. He aimed his message directly at LeBron. Smith argued that putting his son in this situation too early, exposing him to this level of scrutiny before he was truly ready, was not fair to the young man. He said he was pleading with LeBron as a father. He said to stop this. He pointed out that through Bronny's first stretch of NBA games, the numbers were 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. Smith made it clear he was rooting for Bronny. He said it would be cruel to root against a kid in that situation. But he believed the right place for Bronny at that stage of his development was the G League, where he could grow without the weight of national television and 20,000 fans screaming every time he touched the ball. Charles Barkley called the entire situation awful and said it was a bad look for the Lakers organization. He stated directly that Bronny was not ready.
DeMarcus Cousins said drafting Bronny showed the Lakers were no longer serious about competing. Other former players and analysts piled on. The criticism was relentless, and it came from everywhere. And through all of it, Bronny kept showing up. He kept working. He kept putting in the reps. He kept his head down and took everything that was thrown at him without ever publicly breaking down. The games gave the critics more material. Against San Antonio in Summer League, Bronny went 1 for 5 with 3 turnovers. He airballed a wide-open layup near halftime, missed an open 3, and lost control of the ball on a drive to the basket. Against Dallas, he missed what could have been a game winner with under 4 seconds left and finished with 8 points on poor shooting efficiency while being outplayed by Cooper Flagg. Social media went crazy. Every mistake was turned into a meme. Every turnover was turned into a comparison to his father. A preseason game against Phoenix showed the gap clearly. Bronny played 13 minutes, scored 0 points, had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 turnovers. LeBron scored 19 points on 8 for 12 shooting in just 16 minutes. The contrast became a headline that nobody could avoid. In one loss, LeBron and Bronny combined for 8 turnovers, 4 apiece, and the online reaction was brutal. People claimed Bronny was pulling his father down. The memes were everywhere. The frustration inside the team became visible too. In November, cameras caught J.J. Redick and Luka Dončić both yelling at Bronny for passing up open shots during the game. Now, to be clear, that was not personal. That was competitive fire from a coaching staff and a teammate who understood that every single possession in an NBA game matters enormously. But it highlighted a real and growing issue. Bronny was hesitating. He had identified himself publicly as a defensive specialist. After one game against the Spurs, he told reporters that his role was defense, that the Lakers had plenty of players who could go get buckets, guys like Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reaves, and that his job was to defend and stay ready. The logic made complete sense on paper. The problem was the spacing it created when he passed up clean looks. Defenses noticed. They stopped respecting him as a shooting threat. And Luka's visible frustration during back-to-back possessions where Bronny stood in the corner and did nothing told the story without a single word needing to be spoken. And this is where the locker room reports become so important, because the joking between Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves about Bronny did not come out of nowhere. It came out of a real, ongoing tension that had been building around his role on the team, his hesitation on offense, and the question of whether he truly belonged at this level. What started as casual banter between teammates escalated into something that crossed a line, and when LeBron caught wind of it, everything changed. Because for LeBron James, jokes about his son are not something he files away calmly and deals with later. They are personal, they are immediate, and his response was immediate too. The mood inside that locker room shifted overnight, and people inside the building felt it. LeBron's defense of his son has been one of the most consistent and passionate things about his entire 2024-25 season. He has not pretended Bronny is a star in the making. He has not overhyped what his son is doing on the court, but he has made one argument repeatedly, and he has made it with full conviction. He believes Bronny handles pressure better at this age than LeBron himself did as a young player. In July 2024, shortly after the draft, LeBron told ESPN that people did not fully understand his son.
He said that when he came into the league as a rookie, he actually cared a lot about what people thought. He wanted people to like him, and some of the things being said about him bothered him early in his career. But Bronny, he said, just does not care. He does not listen to any of it.
LeBron called him the coolest kid, the complete opposite of his dad in that way. And he framed that mental toughness as something rare and genuinely impressive. On the New Heights podcast with Jason and Travis Kelce in January 2025, LeBron went even further. He said Bronny does not have to play basketball at all. He said it is not like his son needs the money. Bronny could walk away tomorrow and step into any number of other careers and be completely fine. But he chose basketball. He told his father, "This is my goal. This is my career. This is what I want to do." And LeBron said he fully supported that choice. That message was designed to cut directly against the nepotism narrative. This was not a father pushing his son into the spotlight. This was a son choosing his own path and a father getting behind it with everything he had. LeBron also pointed out something that gets overlooked in these conversations. He said he never had to deal with social media trolls when he was growing up and learning the game. Bronny has to deal with that on top of everything else. Performance pressure, national media criticism, constant comparisons to his father, all of it amplified by millions of strangers online every single day. LeBron said if you ever actually met Bronny, you would feel foolish for ever doubting him, that the way he carries himself, the maturity he shows, the way he handles all of that noise would make even the harshest critic feel respect for him as a person. Then came the moment that temporarily changed the entire narrative. In March 2025, against Milwaukee, Bronny James played 17 minutes and looked like a completely different player. He was aggressive, he was confident, he made decisions without hesitating, he scored points and made plays that showed genuine NBA competence. And afterward, Stephen A. Smith, the same man who had been pleading with LeBron to protect his son from this level of scrutiny, said something remarkable on national television. He admitted he might have been wrong. He said Bronny looked like somebody who belonged out there. That moment was significant, not because one good game erases all the questions, but because it showed that the potential LeBron had been seeing in practice was real and capable of showing up on the biggest stage when the conditions were right. There had also been a genuinely great game against the Spurs earlier in the season, on February 11th, when injuries forced extended minutes for Bronny. He posted 12 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and a block in 25 minutes of play. J.J. Redick praised his growing confidence afterward. He pointed to specific sequences where Bronny blocked a shot and then immediately hit a timely basket on the other end. That kind of two-way play in back-to-back possessions is exactly what a developmental guard needs to show to earn trust, and Bronny delivered it in that game. But then, 2 days later against Dallas, he was back to garbage time minutes in a blowout win. That inconsistency defined exactly where he was in his development, capable of real moments, but not yet consistent enough to hold down a permanent rotation spot. In the G League with South Bay, the picture was more encouraging. He had a 31-point explosion in one game that showed genuine offensive capability when the defensive pressure came off and he was allowed to play freely. He averaged 15.5 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 4.8 assists per game in his G League appearances. The shooting strokes looked better. The decision-making looked sharper. The confidence looked more real. Those reps in the G League mattered enormously. They gave him a place to work through his hesitation, to get comfortable pulling the trigger on open shots, and to build the kind of rhythm that only comes from repeated attempts without the fear of national headlines following every miss. Now let us talk about where Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves actually stand in all of this, because the situation is more layered than simply two teammates laughing at the coach's son. When Luka arrived in Los Angeles after the blockbuster trade that sent Anthony Davis to Dallas, LeBron made it immediately clear how he wanted things to go. He told Luka directly not to try to fit in, but to fit out. He let Luka choose whether to be introduced last before games, a symbolic gesture about how the new hierarchy was being handled. And publicly, LeBron said something that was genuinely remarkable for a man of his stature.
He told reporters that Luka does not need to bend his game for anyone, that Luka is the 26-year-old franchise cornerstone of this basketball club, and it is up to everyone else to bend their games around him and figure it out. That statement was a turning point. For the first time in years, LeBron openly acknowledged that he was no longer the unquestioned center of everything in that building. The crown was shifting, and he was choosing to welcome that shift rather than fight it. Luka's assessment of Bronny has actually been more supportive than the early reports made it seem. After a November 2025 win over Miami, where Bronny logged 18 strong minutes with a real defensive impact, Luka went out of his way to praise him. He said Bronny was great in those moments because you never know when you are going to play. He was ready when the team needed him, and that kind of readiness means everything. Luka even compared Bronny's defensive impact to Marcus Smart, one of the most respected defensive guards in recent NBA history. He said playing against someone who guards you that hard every single time is genuinely difficult, and he was glad to have Bronny on his side rather than across from him. That is not a throwaway comment. That is a genuine endorsement of a specific skill set from one of the best players in the world. But the same Luka who offered that praise was also the one caught visibly frustrated during stretches where Bronny stood in the corner and passed up open looks. And that combination of support and frustration is actually healthy in a competitive environment. It shows Bronny as being treated like a real teammate, held to real standards, not just given a free pass because of who his father is. Austin Reaves came at this from a completely different direction. Reaves is an undrafted player who clawed his way into the NBA through sheer work and refuses to hand out empty praise. He knows exactly what it takes to earn your place on an NBA roster when nobody believed in you coming in. During training camp in October 2025, he told Bronny directly that he had been one of the better players on the floor almost every day in camp and to keep doing exactly that. That kind of endorsement means something real coming from Reaves because he does not say things just to make people feel good. And after the Miami game where Bronny delivered, Reaves said he played really good minutes, was good defensively, did the right things offensively, and that the team needed exactly what he gave them that night. He said he was looking forward to Bronny continuing to do that. Not hype, not a headline, just one teammate recognizing another for doing the work. And then there was the alley-oop. Reaves threw Bronny a perfect lob during the Miami game that went viral almost immediately, and afterward, Reaves laughed about it in the best possible way, joking that he might be the first person in NBA history to throw a lob to both a father and a son. That joke said more about the team chemistry than any press conference answer could. It showed Bronny as part of the system, included, recognized, not just present because of his last name. Tensions between LeBron and members of the media also spilled into public view in ways that showed just how personal this whole situation had become. After Stephen A. Smith's repeated on-air commentary urging LeBron to reconsider his son's situation, Smith revealed on his show that LeBron had actually approached him unexpectedly to confront him about his coverage of Bronny. Smith described it as LeBron coming up to him and making it clear that he needed.
That moment showed the father side of LeBron in the most unfiltered way possible. He can absorb years of criticism about himself without blinking. He has been doing that his entire career, but when the focus shifted to his child, his response became immediate and personal. Kendrick Perkins felt the same heat. The former teammate turned analyst spoke about Bronny's draft value and reportedly upset LeBron in the process. Perkins later admitted that LeBron got mad at him for talking about Bronny in the draft. Even from someone who had shared a locker room with LeBron and had genuine respect between them, that conversation became a point of real friction. The nepotism question is not going away anytime soon, and the honest answer is that it never will until Bronny's performance forces the conversation to change on its own terms. His contract alone raised eyebrows. Most players drafted 55th overall receive minimum deals with very little guaranteed money. Bronny received a 4-year, $7.9 million contract with real security built in.
Critics pointed to that immediately as evidence that the Lakers were treating him differently than they would treat any other late second-round pick, and the argument was not unfair. The uncomfortable truth at the center of all this is that Bronny's college numbers at USC, 4.8 points per game on 36.6% shooting, were not the kind of numbers that put players on NBA radars without other factors involved. His 2023 cardiac arrest complicated his development significantly and limited what he was able to accomplish before the draft. Some scouts believed he needed another full year of college basketball. Others thought he should not have declared at all. But he chose this path, LeBron supported it, and here we are. What stands out most when you look at everything together is how Bronny himself handles all of it. No public meltdowns, no blaming the media, no pointing fingers at coaches or teammates or the organization. In a March 2025 interview with The Athletic, he addressed the noise directly and honestly. He said he sees everything people write and say, and that people seem to think he is a robot without feelings or emotions. That honesty showed real maturity. He knows exactly what is being said about him. He just keeps working anyway. Early in the gym, late to leave, extra film sessions. The effort is noticed by the people who are actually in the building with him every day, even when it goes unrecognized by the people watching from the outside. If Bronny develops into the kind of reliable defensive specialist who can consistently guard multiple positions, run the floor hard, and hit corner threes at a respectable percentage, the entire narrative around him changes. That is how role players silence critics in this league, not through big speeches or emotional moments, through results, through showing up in the moments when the team needs them and delivering something real. His defensive foundation is already in place. The offensive consistency is what he is chasing now, and the G League reps, the continued opportunity alongside Luka and Reaves, and the time that comes with being only 21 years old all work in his favor if he stays the course. The tension inside the Lakers' locker room that surfaced around the joking between his teammates is not the end of anything. It is a snapshot of a young player navigating a genuinely difficult situation inside a competitive professional environment where standards are high and patience is limited. LeBron's reaction to it tells you everything about where his priorities are. Basketball second, family first, always. And watching a father fight that hard for his son in the middle of everything else happening around that franchise is something that no stat line can fully capture. Bronny James has a long road ahead, but the work is happening, the growth is real, and in this league, that is all any player can truly offer. The rest has to take care of itself over